Morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Sarah Harding, and I'm the Research Director at Kinetic. For those of you who don't know, Kinetic is an out-of-home specialist media agency. We plan and buy all of Group M's out-of-home media alongside other independent agencies, including Seven Stars, the UK's largest independent media agency. Welcome to this talk from Eff Week and Kinetic, where I'm going to chat through some of our recent learnings on achieving a positive and strong ROI for out-of-home. I'm going to talk through how we successfully increased the ROI delivered for our clients year after year and how we increased it to £1.76. Out-of-home is historically given a low average ROI. We saw this from our own studies back in 2020, and this was mirrored by the research that Thinkbox did that you can see there in the blue bars. And when we looked into our own data, we saw that the issue was out-of-home's performance could be quite erratic. Sometimes it delivered a positive ROI and sometimes it didn't. So we sought to understand what the differences were between these campaigns. What factors did the successful campaigns have in common and what factors did the less successful campaigns have in common? Before I go any further, there are a couple of key things to know. So firstly, there are variances, of course, within these ROIs. Secondly, that there are factors that media and out-of-home have absolutely no control over, and they will affect the ROI. So things like the base size of sales, physical availability, and the cost of the product. And then lastly, just a short definition on what I mean by ROI. So here you'll see me referencing short-term ROI throughout the presentation. So what we're looking at is the sales uplift from across the course of the campaign, and the out-of-home campaign is typically 2 to 4 weeks long. And then we look at a lag period of 4 weeks after the campaign has finished to capture any repeat and delayed purchases as well. To understand how we could improve our ROI figures, we married two sources of insight and data together, so our Fresco Labs and the out-of-home playbook. Our Fresco Labs is our bespoke campaign analysis service that covers a range of different categories. From 2020 to 2022, we delivered over 40 FMCG ROI studies. And to carry out these studies, we used our geospatial expertise to link where people see the out-of-home ad to where the purchases are made. And we use sales data to calculate that short-term ROI. From our Fresco Labs, we can see what worked and what didn't work. We talked about the out-of-home playbook this time last year at Eff Week. This study links 2.2 billion in media spend to YouGov brand index profiles. It reports back on the effectiveness and efficiency of different out-of-home formats and environments to drive different brand outcomes. In a nutshell, it tells us the role of out-of-home for different environments, different formats. So what have we learned and what insights have we implemented into our planning process to create campaigns with a strong ROI? How the earth do I get a positive ROI for out-of-home? There are three key insights that I'm going to talk through today. Firstly, the location of the advertising. Secondly, memorability of the ad format. And thirdly, having a great consumer insight. So kicking off with location. Our meta-analysis of our Fresco Labs demonstrates that proximity out-of-home, these as supermarkets, are the best at driving those immediate sales. Whereas broadcast out-of-home, so the ads you see on the side of the road that you might walk past or drive past, these work better at driving future demand, at creating future demand there. So if you look at the chart, the red bar is a sales uplift during the campaign. The blue bars are the sales uplift for the 4 weeks after. On the left, you can see that proximity out-of-home, the point of sale activity, so stuff outside of the supermarkets, has the biggest impact on short-term sales. But it has quite a sharp decay factor there, as you might expect, and it's quite common to see media. But where roadside activity was used, so that's in the right, the broadcast format, there is a minimal decay factor that we can see happening there. This really complements the findings that we saw in the out-of-home playbook. So the out-of-home playbook demonstrates that proximity is key for physical availability and roadside is key for mental availability. So if we look at this chart, the further to the left and the higher the red bar, the more effective that format is. So here, proximity out-of-home retail media is effective at driving physical availability, as we can also see is roadside and London Underground large format. The great thing about the out-of-home playbook research is that it was a cross-category piece of research, and we were able to do a real deep dive into it, just focusing on the FMCG sector. When looking at the out-of-home playbook for the FMCG sector, in terms of ad awareness, there were 3 key insights that we saw come out, and we've used these to help our clients plan their out-of-home more effectively and more efficiently. So we saw that for ad awareness, more memorable and impactful frames overcome their cost premium. For FMCG, this should be paired with proximity to store out of home. And we also saw that contextual relevance also drives awareness metrics and is worth investing in. It is worth that extra cost. So that leads us on nicely to the next section. And the next section I want to talk around is around memorability and how out of home can leverage context and data to help a campaign stand out. This is a really good example from Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. It used augmented reality. We could literally put your hand out to receive a free can of Coke from the poster. Contextually relevant campaigns drive memorability and sales. So when we look at contextually relevance, there are a number of different ways this can be done and achieved using out of home. We've got some great examples here. So one is including using distance to store messaging, as we've shown, as we can see with this Tesco campaign. We've got a really great example here from Iftar and Uber Eats that uses time and a countdown to a particular event. Weather data can be pulled in to trigger different creatives at different times, and even points of interest data can be pulled in as well, and shout out to local companies such as this really fun Coleman's example we can see here. And through our Fresco Labs research, we found that memorable campaigns leave a lasting impact and drive strong halo effects. We've got the data here that shows it. So contextually relevant campaigns do this by creating momentum. On the left, we have our kinetic benchmark data based on all the Fresco lab studies that have been done in the past couple of years. And there's a decay effect between the campaign being live and looking at that 4-week period after the campaign has finished. And this is to be completely expected. But on the right, you can see contextually relevant campaigns actually create momentum. Sales are higher after the campaign has finished, and they create that future demand. And this is about being memorable and having those moments of engagement with the consumer. Another effect of memorable contextual relevant campaigns is they have a stronger halo effect. So this chart shows the effect of out-of-home advertising on the master brand, so products related to the one that is advertised. This is another great example of contextual messaging from Warburton's, who would have gotten passers-by salivating with his crumpet creative shown only when the weather is miserable. And then the final insight I want to talk around is the importance of having a great consumer insight. So whilst this is often the foundation of many amazing campaigns, there's one consumer insight that's worked particularly well for our clients. And using geo-experimentation and consumer insight, we drove an ROI of £2.41 for one of our alcohol clients. They had a new range of products, a new range of variants aimed at the lighter drinkers in their category. And they also had this consumer insight that showing multiple flavours on their creative would be more successful at bringing in the lighter category drinkers. So we decided to test this in real life, and we tested it via geo-experimentation. Putting one creative in carefully selected locations up in the UK, and then putting the other creative up in a complementary set of locations. The results, as you can see, are pretty clear, so showing multiple variants succeeded in driving more sales and creating a stronger ROI. We also conducted some more traditional research that demonstrated showing that multiple flavours appealed to a broader base of consumers. So bringing in more lighter product category buyers into the mix. So then we've got one kind of real life example showing how this insight has worked for that particular client. But we can also see that it worked through our meta-analysis of our Fresco Labs. And it's something that a number of our other clients have leveraged. So here's some great examples showing a range of multiple products on the creative. What they'll cleverly do is hero a product and make it clear that there are other variants, but at the same time don't overly crowd the creative. With the Terry's chocolate orange example shown, even though it is a variant that is shown, for me there's definitely a nod there to the classic Terry's chocolate orange as well. And including multiple flavours, where this makes sense to do so and where there is that clear consumer insight, means there's more scope for the campaign to drive sales across multiple lines. So this may lead to a higher ROI. Through our Fresco lab studies, through our meta-analysis, we found the ROI to be on average 32% higher. So not a result to be sniffed at all, and as a result of a relatively simple change to the imagery. So to summarise everything I've just talked through the past few minutes, how the earth do I get a positive ROI for out of home? Well, think about your location. Out of home retail media point of sale drives more short-term immediate sales. Roadside generates that future demand. So in terms of kind of the action point to take away from this, ensure that the campaign objectives fit with that location and potentially blend different locations together, if that makes sense too. Try to achieve standout, try and achieve that memorability. So we saw that contextual relevant campaigns create stronger lag and brand halo effects. So you can really leverage this learning by ensuring that the right data sets are used to make the activity as salient as possible. And then that third consumer insight was all about making sure you have a great consumer insight. So showing multiple products can help drive an ROI. Consider if that's the right insight for your brand, but if not, if there's another insight that you think is more relevant, more pertinent, that can be potentially tested via geo-experimentation. And when I look back on what we've done and what we've learned, what we've done here is we've closed the loop from tactical learnings to strategic implementation. And I appreciate that not everyone here will necessarily be from an out-of-home background, but I do think these learnings are universal. It's about matching the campaign objectives to the right medium and environments within that medium, ensuring strong standout and making sure you have the right assets to fit within that medium, utilising data, whatever you have else you can really leverage and pull on. And finally, just really focusing on that great consumer insight. So 3 learnings that are universal. Thank you very much for your time, for dialing in. If you have any questions or would like to know any more about the research and our other learnings, then please do get in touch.